Hey, Bright Lights, welcome to the Space Doctor series on the Architecting channel. This is your one-stop shop if you would like to demystify the science behind the design for well-being. So make sure that you like and subscribe. My name is Angela. I'm an architect, feng shui practitioner, and researcher. I make thoughtful weekly videos on this very topic because I have spent my whole career studying how much of a difference the built environment really does make in our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health. And I want to make it easy to understand. So you don't have to be a design professional like me to use the actionable tips. I'm going to break down a lot of research and infuse it with fun facts, feng shui principles, and other easy to implement strategies. And we're going to use my Saluted Genesis deck. So it starts with the foundational concepts, which is really what is the science behind how the environment affects us. And the second part of the deck are the 5 aspects of salutogenesis that my research has identified. Each of those is associated with a feng shui element, which I'll talk about more when I draw the cards. So I take one from each deck, pair them together, and we talk about it. That's why every single week is different, and you want to keep coming back because you're going to learn something you didn't know, even if I've drawn that card in the past. So let's go ahead and get started. The card that I drew from the foundational aspects part of the deck is normalization. Normalization is basically that process of having a repeated experience, behavior, or situation to the point where it feels acceptable to you. It feels normal. And as you can see, the image on the card is a pot on the stove. That gradual experience where we don't realize it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter till we reach that boiling point. Now, normalization can be used in a positive way if we want to innovate or change behavior, because if we have leaders who are going to go in there and are going to themselves use different processes or different behaviors, eventually others will mirror them, and over time that new way will become normal. It could also be, as you could imagine, a way that sometimes bad habits or cutting corners or breaking the rules or doing something that's maybe ethically in a gray area, if the leadership is doing that, how that can start to become normal and accepted. And the thing with normalization is that people don't even realize it. They take it for granted. So it's very important when we're thinking about normalization to look at the status quo, look at whether the status quo is actually something we want to keep doing, whether it's really serving us. And if not, how do we consciously break that cycle? How do we realize the pot is boiling, and how do we make that change? The card that I drew from the companion part of the deck, the aspects, is from the biophilia part, and it is attention restoration. Now, I want to give a quick overview. Biophilia is a theory developed by Edward Wilson, and basically, it means human beings, we're part of nature. We are hardwired to resonate with the natural world. Biophilia, you can think of as I relate. And even if we're not conscious of it, our brain is. So when we don't get enough exposure to the natural world, it actually stresses us out. It's like having our battery drained in the background. Now, attention restoration theory, what they were looking at was mental fatigue. And what they found was that when you actually have a full break in nature, that is when your attention is restored. And as you can see on the card, we've got this beautiful sense of taking a break, this campsite on the hillside with the mountains in the distance. So the hill represents the security, the safety, the calmness that we feel when we take that break. The mountain is that challenge that we're working on, that we've taken a break from. That's why it's out in the distance. And you can see the blue sky. The clouds are clearing away. The birds represent the optimism. So, really, what I'm hoping you will associate with this card is the idea that when we take a break, we have an opportunity for a fresh approach, for an innovative approach. And biophilia is associated with the wood element in feng shui. Wood is about connections and network. So, again, when we restore our attention, we don't just do what we know works because it feels easy. We're more willing to say, I wonder what would happen if. We also have a better ability to concentrate. So, this is especially important if you are someone or you know someone who's suffering from ADHD or other neurodiverse problems where it is more difficult to concentrate. But frankly, all of us are struggling to concentrate these days because we are so digitally immersed, especially with social media and the constant interruptions that give us these little dopamine hits. But over time, all of that overload of the dopamine actually lessens our concentration and increases our anxiety. So it isn't healthy, it isn't working for us. So let's put the two cards together and talk about how you can make a change. So the first thing is to realize what we have normalized in our world that is hurting our ability to focus and concentrate. Look at your life, look at your routines, look at your environment. Are you in a setting where there's harsh lighting, no real color or visual richness or depth to the space, so it feels very flat? Are you in a setting that isn't supporting your ability to take breaks and walk around? Is it all the same? Can you get outside? Those are all important questions to ask. And then it isn't just about getting outside, although that's great if you can do it, to schedule maybe during lunch or other times of the day a time when you will go take a walk or go to the park or go sit outside on a rooftop patio or balcony, but also within your workspace. How can we have those abilities to have that immersive experience with nature? Because that is really what the Kaplans found in their study, was that it was all about how immersive the environment was and that ability to have that soft attention. It doesn't require as much mental effort, but it also requires having a complete break. So, not just being able to look up and take a break, but to be able to leave what you're doing and restore, hit that reset button, and come back later. So think about how you can create those little oasis spaces in your home, at the office, in a school, especially. I think this is something that educators should really focus on, is giving kids those opportunities to have those resets. And then they can come back much more recharged and much better able to focus on a lot of the work they're doing, which tends to be more and more digital these days and less hands on. So, how can we have more physically and mentally replenishing spaces that include the natural world, which is going to make it easier to reset with those kinds of positive distractions. So if you learned something from this, make sure you do like and subscribe, tell a friend about this channel, and make sure you check out past episodes. I love sharing this content with all of you, and I hope that you can really use what you've learned about normalization and attention restoration in your life to really have better health and well being and have a great week.